Welcome to episode 80 of the Family Answer Man podcast. Today we're talking about how one can improve their mental health from a biblical worldview on the Family Answer Man podcast. I'm your host, David Orgis, and I am here with Dr. Mark Crosby, pastor, educator, marriage and family therapist, and resident expert on the Family Answer Man podcast, where we tackle tough questions that families face and discuss practical solutions that really do work. Now, this podcast is not a therapy session, and we are not able to give specific advice to your situations. But we do believe that mental and spiritual health are very serious issues, and that family dynamics can be and often are very complicated. So, for in-depth answers to your questions, we want to encourage you to seek professional counsel specific to your unique circumstances. If you would take a second right now, though, to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell and comment so you never miss an episode of the Family Answer Man, that would be fantastic. And if you're listening via podcast, take a moment to follow us, to rate and review us on your favorite podcast app. It really does help us out. We appreciate that a lot, and it helps to grow our community. If our content has helped you at all, please share the Family Answer Man with your friends and your family so they can join you on this journey of building stronger, healthier, and happier families. Well, Dr. Mark, it's good to be here with you today.
Yes.
And we have a good topic for today, and it's we're talking all about mental health and how to become mentally healthy, or how to improve our mental health. Is that something that that you find is a common discussion in much of our audience are Christians or associated with the church?
Yeah, not necessarily. I mean, we hear the phrase, that, if you will, or the term mental health, on TV, various news agencies talk about mental health. We follow maybe with the CDC, the Center for Disease Control says about mental health, which we'll allude to here in a moment. But when it comes to everyday conversation, and you don't hear a whole lot about how to improve our mental health, as opposed to when someone says, hey, I want to diet and exercise. I want to get stronger.
Right. I want to get fit.
I want to get healthier. Yeah. I want to get fit. I want to get ripped. I want to get ready for, the summer. I want to, be able to get into that, that new pair of clothes or whatever.
Yep.
And so gyms are opening up, and everybody's, wanting to work out and, go to the gym and eat better, and all the advertisements for the various diets that are all around, and people are talking about those things and how much weight they've lost, or how stronger they're getting at the gym, or how much more they're lifting now.
Yeah.
And so those are all signs of physical fitness and physical health, if you will. But mental health, not so much. I think the reason for that is because there's still a lot of stigma about mental health. And when a person thinks of mental health, basically they're thinking, hey, as long as I am doing well, as long as I can, go to work, as long as I can, read a book and, go to sleep and have a good night's rest and have conversations that are meaningful, then I should be okay.
Right. It seems like sometimes the barometer is simply, I'm not falling apart.
Exactly. And the reality is that, as long as people aren't calling us weird or strange or peculiar or things of that nature, because that's how we see mental health. Even, I hate to say this, but even in various church settings, a person will say, well, that person's a little different. They're a little peculiar. That's just how they are.
Bless their heart.
Bless their heart. And we have that mindset. But the reality is that mental health is a very important part of who we are.
Yeah.
And if we don't work on our mental health, like we work on our physical health or even our spiritual health, then our mental health will begin to decline. And that's the part that we don't realize or recognize. And so sometimes we will ignore our mental health, or we'll ignore some of the symptoms that maybe our mental health is starting to decline, if you will. And so these are some things that we need to be careful of and cautious of. And so, I think this is very important to note, that maintaining mental health and knowing how to maintain mental health is very important, because if you ask most people, how do you maintain your mental health? They'll look at you like a deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? I go to work every day. I pray a little bit. I go to church. I read my Bible. What else do you want? But there's more to it than that. And so hopefully, we can speak more about that.
Well, I am excited. If you, our listeners, want to get in touch with us, you can always email us, familyanswerman@liveoak.church. Again, that's familyanswerman@liveoak.church, and send in your questions. We would love to answer those questions for you. We do love hearing from you. the question for today comes in, and I'm just going to read the question, and we have a lot to unpack here, and I'm excited about it. The question says, as a pastor, I understand the importance of spiritual health. I also practice being physically fit, but how does one improve their mental health? So this is a question that's being written in from a pastor that understands spiritual health, physical health. Right. How does one improve their mental health? So mental health has been noted as a considerable healthcare concern in the last few weeks, months, if you will. As a matter of fact, the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, basically declared that we are in a mental health crisis, meaning simply this. And one of their symptoms they're looking at is that in 2022, there were approximately 50,000 suicides reported. Wow. 50,000 reported suicides in the year 2022. That's a lot of people. That is. That's taking their life because of mental illness. And so, again, the CDC sees that and they recognize this. And so they recognize this is an alarming symptom, if you will, that we need to be mindful of. That mental health, again, is behind this, and therefore, or the lack of mental health, I should say, is behind this. And we need to be mindful of what this means. Not only that, but 1 in 3 teenage girls have considered suicide. Wow. That's a lot. One in 3 teenage girls have considered suicide. Some research has indicated that a veteran dies by suicide every hour of every day. Wow. That's a lot of people. The mass shootings that we are all hearing about almost weekly now, whether it be at schools or malls or public venues like concerts, are all on the increase. As a matter of fact, just today, I'm reading headlines of a school shooting in Iowa with at least one person dead and multiple injuries. Wow. Drug addiction, deaths just by fentanyl in 2022 reached over 70,000. Jeez. So when you look at the fentanyl deaths, you look at the suicides, you look at the mass shootings, not only that, but 1 in 5 murders were killed or occurred, I should say, by an intimate partner. So somebody that they know. An intimate partner, a husband, a wife, someone, but an intimate partner, boyfriend, girlfriend. 19.1 million women reported being stalked in this past year. So here's the point. There's a crisis. And there's a reason why the CDC is letting it be known that mental health is in crisis today. And so the pastor who writes in has a great question. How do you improve your mental health? How do you keep from being a person who gets involved maybe in a severe argument or fight or gets involved in something that would cause harm to yourself or to others? Right. And those are things that we all chalk up and say, oh, well, I would never. Right. Until it's too late and we have. And the person who says, I would never, I would argue, is letting down some defenses that is keeping them, or that would keep them from going down that path. But the moment you say, that would never happen to me, you've just opened up your marriage, your family, your soul, your situation to all sorts of problems. And so what do we do? Well, again, I think the Bible always gives great advice. So let's begin with Proverbs 22:12. As a matter of fact, for those who want to keep count, for the pastors who are listening who could use this in their sermons, the reality is there's 10 points today we want to cover. But the first one is Proverbs 22:12 says that a prudent man sees evil and hides himself, but the naive proceed and pay the penalty. So the point simply is this: every regret that you have, you were a part of. Every regret that you have in life, you were a part of. I'm not saying that there weren't some strong, influences. I'm not saying that maybe in some cases your back was, against the wall, as they say. But the truth is, every regret that you have, you were a part of. Financial regrets, relational regrets, moral regrets, professional regrets, the list could go on. And so what happened was this: these regrets occurred because either you ignored the advice of family, of friends, of coworkers, of pastors, of associate pastors, counselors, whoever. You ignored their advice. They told you don't go there. They told you not to take that. They told you don't say yes to him. They told you don't go out with her. They told you don't call them back. But you ignored their advice. Or you refused to see it coming. Everybody saw it coming. You saw it coming, but you refused to see it coming. You knew that if you continued down this path, this would happen, but you refused to see it because you believed it didn't apply to you. Wow.
You believe this doesn't apply to me. I can do this. I can go out with them. I can still be involved, and the consequences and what happened to other people really doesn't apply to me. So the question is what to do, because a prudent man sees evil and hides himself. So what do you do? And many will argue this, and most good counselors will, I think, affirm this, and that is you ask yourself good questions.
Okay.
Because when you ask yourself good questions, that's when you often make good decisions. For example, ask yourself the question before you do something, where is this going to go? Where is this going to go? If I pursue this, if I say yes to her, if I say yes to him, if I, get involved with that, if I sign up for this, where is this going to go? Number 2, ask yourself this question, what will be the outcome? What will be the outcome of this? Ask yourself this question, will I be happy tomorrow with this decision today? Will I be happy tomorrow with this decision today? And number 4, who else will be impacted by this? Who else will be impacted by this? Will my kids be impacted? Will my spouse be impacted? Will my church be impacted? Will my friends be impacted? Will, my family be impacted? Or however how you want to put it, but who will be impacted by this decision? Because the truth is, every decision we make will impact somebody.
Yeah.
And so again, this is important to note. Along that same line, know the difference between reacting to someone and responding to someone.
Okay.
Reaction is based
break down reaction versus responding.
Yeah, reaction is based on emotion. I'm going to react because I'm emotionally fill in the blank. I'm emotionally angry. I'm emotionally happy. I am emotionally invested or whatever. But reaction is based on emotion. It's based on impulse. In other words, it's based on instant gratification. I'm doing this because I'm angry and I'm going to get my pound of flesh. I am going to react because this makes me happy. I think this would feel great, or whatever it may be. But a response is based on analysis. Response is based on thinking about something. Response is based on what is the end result. If I do this, if I respond, what will be the end result? So again, know the difference between, the reaction and response. Also, know the difference between being a functional person and a dysfunctional person.
Okay. And I know you've talked about dysfunction before.
Exactly. Dysfunctional people, once again, just as a brief review, is a person who doesn't ever admit they've got a problem. It's everybody else's fault. I don't need any help. We're going to sweep this under the rug. If we don't talk about it, it never happened. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. That's a dysfunctional person. Whereas a functional person says, I need to talk about this. I need to get this out. I need to figure this out. I need some help in this area. I need to understand why I did what I did. I need to understand how to make it better. I need to understand and begin to figure out how I can improve the situation.
Yeah, that's that process of being functional, asking those questions is part of being human.
Exactly. And the reality is both the functional person and the dysfunctional person have one thing in common. I've got a problem. But the functional person says, I know I have a problem. I'm going to do something about it. The dysfunctional person says, no, I don't. It's everybody else's fault. And I'm going to sweep this under the rug. And if no one talks about it, that means it never happened.
Right. Which isn't true, isn't real.
Exactly.
It's not rational, and that's why it's dysfunctional.
Exactly. That's why it's dysfunctional. Next, stay accountable to people who will hold you accountable. I think many pastors and counselors and other professionals in this area have heard of the accountability partner. Right. To have somebody that will tell us what we really want to or really need to know, or what they really see going on, without any fear of reprisal. In other words, have somebody in your life who says, let me tell you what you're doing. Let me tell you how to get better. Let me tell you why this is wrong. Let me tell you why this is not working. And you're not worried, that person's not worried about, again, the pushback.
Right. This is, Pastor wrote this in. This is not the complainer at church that doesn't like anything you do. This is a person that can give you good, honest feedback. Yeah. That's a neutral party that can actually help you grow.
This is a person who you trust. This is a person who can be real with you. You can be real with them. And this is a person who will he's not afraid to say that was wrong, or that point just did not line up, or you didn't do enough research in this area, or you really need to go back and do that all over again, or whatever it may be, without any fear of pushback.
Yeah.
And so, there's a difference between having an accountability partner and a bunch of critics who want you to do things where they feel like, that you should do it their way, kind of thing. There's a big difference. But anyway, people who will be real with you, people who don't tiptoe around you, these accountability partners are important, and they keep you focused, they keep you grounded. And that's important to note. Thirdly, have a goal that you want to reach, a goal that improves you as a person. In other words, in 2024, learn something. There's a lot of people who have said almost every year, I want to learn another language. Okay? Yeah. I want to learn Spanish, or I want to learn Hebrew, I want to learn Greek, or I want to learn French, or whatever it may be. But learn something. And there's so many ways today without formally signing up at a college, university course or whatever. But learn something, accomplish something. So many people start things and never finish them. But accomplish something. This year, I'm going to finish this project. I'm going to see it to its fulfillment. Improve some area of your life. Do something that you're excited about doing that maybe you haven't done before. It's been a long time. But again, the point is, have a goal that you want to reach. This is not a New Year's resolution, but this is something that says, I want to do this. I want to learn this. I'm finally going to be a part of something that I've been kind of putting off for a long, long time. And so this is a good way to keep yourself mentally strong, because goals are wonderful and they make you feel good about yourself. And whenever you achieve or accomplish or learn or grow in a certain area, that helps your mental health. Next, if you're keeping score, this is number 4. Improve your service, improve your ministry, meaning this. Every year, I hear people say, I'm going to give to that particular ministry. I've been wanting to give, some will say, to, the Billy Graham Association or whatever. Or I want to give more to the church. Every year I hear people say that. I want to give more to a particular ministry. Or I want to give to that organization. There's a lot of people that I talk with who say, I'd love to give more to the Tunnels to Towers, veterans, a ministry, if you will, helping people who are disabled because of being in war. Or I want to give to St. Jude's. A lot of folks who say, every time that commercial comes up, it just breaks my heart. And I keep telling myself, I want to give, but I never do. But if you do it, if you just write the check, if you just go to the website or whatever it may be and actually do that, it's going to improve, again, your mental health.
Why is giving so important?
Because we're called to give. If we are made in the image of God, and we are, God gives. And when you're giving, you're, again, reflecting your Heavenly Father. And the more you reflect your Heavenly Father, the better you feel about who you are. And so, again, it's the stingy person. It's the person that doesn't give. It's the person that, says it's all about me, that is the most miserable in their emotional and mental health. So definitely improve your service, improve your ministry, give to that person, give to that ministry, give to that organization, give to that hospital, whatever that may be, whatever God leads you to do, whatever organization that you really feel compassionate about, give. Fifthly, beware of burnout. So to all the pastors who are listening, once again, this is for you. Beware of burnout. Take time for you. That sounds a little selfish, but I'm here to tell you that, number one, it's biblical. God gave a full day of rest for humanity. Right. Not only that, but Jesus definitely enjoyed a good nap. Okay, so beware of that. But take time for you. Jesus got alone. He left, the disciples and got alone sometimes for prayer and just to rest. But take time for you. Know your limitations. In other words, know the symptoms of when you're feeling burned out.
Yeah, I think that's really important.
When you're irritable with your spouse, when you are snapping at your kids, when you are rolling your eyes, at, some person that wants you to pray for their ingrown toenail surgery, and you kind of roll your eyes like, really? Okay. Or whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. But when you start feeling this sense of disconnect, this sense of irritability, this sense of agitation, this sense of apathy, beware of that, because what's happening is you're now showing symptoms of burnout. Yeah. When you start showing or declaring or feeling depressed, you have to get in that pulpit on Sunday morning. You have to get that Bible study done. You have to write that outline. You have to write that sermon, but there's nothing inside of you that is encouraging you, that is moving you, that's motivating you. That's a sign of burnout. And that's when it's time to take a break and say, what's going on with me? Yeah. So again, for the pastors who are listening, recharge. Whatever that looks like to you, if that means getting away for a weekend, if that means getting away for a week, if that means taking a month-long sabbatical, whatever that looks like, but recharge, reflect. How effective am I being? How is my preaching? Ask the person, how was my delivery last Sunday? How was that sermon? What did it make an impact? And let that person say, can I be honest with you? It was boring. Right. I heard it before. There was nothing relevant about it. And so reflect, reconsider, some of the ministries that you're involved in, reconstruct some of those ministries, and maybe even retire from some of those ministries. Let someone else do all the premarital counseling. Let someone else, kind of go to the meeting that, really does not concern you, if you will. Let someone else, make those phone calls to the new visitors that week. But again, it's okay to retire from certain things, because depending on your age and stage of life and stage of ministry and the size of your church, you cannot do it all. Right. Now, you used to. Yeah. And God bless you for doing it all, back when you were, 29. Yeah. But now that you're 49 or 59 or 69, you can't do it all. Yeah. So again, recharge, reflect, reconsider, reconstruct, and retire from certain areas of ministry. Beware of burnout. Number 6, get a mental health checkup.
So when you say a mental health checkup, what is that?
Yeah. Also, I'm going to throw another one in there. Get a marital checkup.
Ooh, wow.
Now, here's what I mean by that. We all know what a checkup is, right? I mean, we go to the optometrist, get our eyes checked. We go to the dentist, get our teeth checked and cleaned and all that. We go to our physician to get a physical checkup. And what they look at is the symptoms, a physical checkup, blood pressure, cholesterol levels, heart rate, oxygen levels, all these things. Of course, the dentist looks at your teeth, is there any signs of gum disease, any cavities, et cetera. The optometrist looks at your eyes, are you 20/20? Are you 20/90? Where are you? Do you need a new prescription for your glasses? So what's going on there? And so these are all things that we do for our body, but what about a mental checkup? Mm-hmm. And sometimes you need to go maybe for a month or two every week and talk to a counselor.
Right. And sometimes I know people are going to push back against that, but that is very biblical.
It is biblical. Again, because a counselor oftentimes will be able to see things about your mental life that maybe others are not seeing because you're hiding it pretty well, or that you refuse to see that others do see. Yeah. Either way, it's good to have that mental health checkup, and just say to the counselor, I'm here to figure out, why I do what I do. Why does this make me angry? Why do I get so upset at board meetings? Why does my wife and I continue to fight over the same problem over and over again? Why do my kids not want to talk to me? Or whatever it may be, but talk to a counselor. Spend 4 to 8 sessions once a week. And in most cases, your insurance will cover the cost. But spend once a week for a couple of months figuring out some things about you. Yeah. Figuring some things out maybe about your marriage. Why do we not, see eye to eye in this area? Why does one thing make me mad but make her sad? Yeah. And so again, talking to a counselor, getting that mental health checkup, asking the question, why do you do what you do? Why do you struggle in this area? Bottom line, how self-aware are you? How self-aware are you of what you're doing, how you're responding, what you're saying, whose feelings you're hurting. Why is it that you're not as compassionate as you used to be?
Because as you said earlier, if you say that you don't have any problems
That's right.
You don't struggle in any areas,
You're
that
dysfunctional.
is the definition of dysfunctional.
You're dysfunctional. And again, we have many great men, in the pulpit, so to speak, but how many of them, even though they're great pastors or great, orators and preachers, how many are still struggling with self-awareness?
Yeah.
Beware of loneliness. Again, pastors, it's kind of leaning on you guys just for a little bit, and all the other staff members and ladies too that are staff members of churches, et cetera. But these individuals are the most lonely on the planet.
Why so?
Because they have to keep a certain facade or air or a certain look or a certain attitude in other words, if they're going through a tough time, they have limited resources or limited people that they can really allow people in, so to speak, because they're to have it all together.
Right. You can't ever let down your guard.
Yeah, they're to have it all together. They're to always have a smile on their face. They're to have a scripture on their lips. They're to have a prayer, ready to be said.
Right.
And what happens is that they're struggling too. Their kids, failed the science, test. Their kids got, the detention, for fill in the blank. Their husband said some unkind things to them before they walked out the door. And the list could go on. They burnt, the lasagna, and because they got, kind of depressed and down and took a long nap. And so what happens is that they're very lonely. They have very few people they can really confide in or talk with or own their weakness. So beware of loneliness. And so my point is there are men's groups, there are women's groups, there are Bible studies groups, there's small groups, there's various organizations. And once again, there are good counselors out there that you can connect with to help work through some of the disappointments of life and some of the loneliness of life, etc. Also, too, if you're struggling with an addiction, stop and get the help, because the reality is addiction will take over.
Yeah. Whatever
that addiction may look like, alcohol, prescription drugs, gambling, whatever it may be. But stop and get the help that you need. Again, 12-step programs are important. Even if you have to leave your community and go to the next, parish or the next county or the next community, but get the help that you need, because the reality is that if you don't, that addiction will eventually take over. I have worked with and counseled and talked with and cried with so many pastors who the alcoholism or whatever it may be eventually took over their life, or the prescription drugs eventually took over their life. And they had to then confess all, from the pulpit, and hearts were broken and people were upset. And there was a sense of, division as to what to do. And all these things occurred when, if just 6 months before, 9 months before, a year before, they would have just got the help that they needed.
Yeah, and that's one of those that you should just do immediately.
Exactly.
Once you recognize it, don't wait.
Right, exactly. And then number 10, for those of you who are keeping count, mental health, again, you cannot beat prayer and worship and Bible study. Going to Christian conferences, going to workshops that speak into your situation, marriage workshops, pastoral conferences. I know the AACC, the American Association of Christian Counselors, has wonderful conferences almost every year. They have local, national, international conferences that really do help with a person's ministry, not just as a counselor, but as a pastor, as a student leader, as a worship leader, etc. So the point is, take advantage of these. Most of them are paid for by churches. Most of them, you can get scholarships. Most of them, are within, a good drive, if you will. So take advantage of those things. But again, there is no substitute for prayer, for worship, for Bible study. That will help and increase and improve your mental health on so many levels and in so many ways. So these are some things that we all can do to improve our mental health.
Well, there you have it, 10 practical solutions for improving your mental health. We just want to say thank you for joining us again on the Family Answer Man. We, as always, believe that mental and spiritual health are very serious issues, and that we encourage you to seek help and guidance for your specific, unique circumstances. We hope that this episode of the Family Answer Man will encourage you and inspire you to make make changes that'll lead to a stronger, healthier, happier family.